Welcome to Changelog, where we explore the latest updates, enhancements, and changes to New Relic itself. In each episode, we dig into the new features and functionalities as told by the people who envisioned, shaped, and even coded them. We discuss the inspiration and the data behind the development, as well as common use cases and applications. I'm Leon Adato, one of the New Relic DevRel advocates, and joining me this week are, we'll start off with Alec Isaacson, Senior Solutions Architect. Welcome!
Nice to be here, Leon. Thank you for inviting us.
It is good to have you. Also, we have Kim Hickey, Principal Solutions Architect. Welcome to Changelog.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
And finally, we have Andrew Faria, Senior Solutions Architect. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Now, before we dive into a really cool topic that I've been really waiting to be able to get on Changelog for a while, I want to talk about who we are, not only what we do at New Relic, but also our life beyond the keyboard, if there is such a thing. So let's talk a little bit about what's new and exciting in your lives. And Alec, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first. What's going on?
So I'm part of New Relic's Observability Maturity team, and my team is responsible for creating content that helps New Relic customers drive positive business outcomes by using our platform. I've also lately, on a personal note, been playing a lot with the new Raspberry Pi microcontroller and using that to do a lot of interesting stuff around my house.
Very cool. Home automation is a bottomless pit of excitement and also frustration. But yeah, it's cool stuff. Okay, we'll have to talk about that and how to monitor some of that stuff maybe in a different episode. Kim, what's new and exciting in your world?
New exciting. I'll just say from the professional note, I'm on the same team as Alec. I care about the same things as Alec does, and then I also specialize in customer experience. So I talk a lot with web and mobile developers about providing a better experience for their users. On the personal note, I do a lot of different things. These days, I mostly try to figure out how to manage gardening through climate change. But I'd say it's winter right now. So tonight, my project is I'm doing a gingerbread house decorating workshop at my home as a fundraiser for a local food pantry. And yes, it's involved.
Wow. And the fundraising obviously helps the food pantry, but will the food pantry also get the gingerbread houses?
No, I'm not sure. No. I'm sure.
Okay, I think
even if we offer them, I think they would say thank you, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. And finally, Andrew, what do you do at New Relic and what do you do not at New Relic?
Hi. Same as Kim and Alec. I'm on the Observability Maturity team. I am one of the co-founders of the framework that we use to develop that content for positive business outcomes. And I specialize in the uptime, performance, and reliability value driver with a big focus on service level management.
Cool.
Most people find it interesting that I also run a farm with animals, chickens, goats, ducks, as well as some large gardens, vegetable gardens. So yeah, that's my personal.
So I'm seeing this farming theme along with the observability maturity theme. So I'm seeing like all of that. But I don't know if that they have to go together, but it's certainly a cool little overlap of the Venn diagram.
We often reference our farming with the programs. It's like growing things for maturity. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so let's dive into the topic. On Changelog, a lot of times we spend time in the technical weeds talking about a specific feature or release or a particular capability within the New Relic platform. But today we're going to take a step back and look at monitoring sort of writ large. How do we know? The question is, how do we know if our solution or our approach to monitoring is effective, if it's doing what we want it to do? Do we even know what effective observability would look like, or if we're there? So that's where I want to start. Before a company even selects a vendor, before the engineers start Googling best observability tools of 2023 or whatever it is, what are some of the things that businesses and IT practitioners should be thinking about and asking themselves about what the outcome of that eventual effort should be? Who wants to go first?
So I'll wade in on this. So it's very easy, I think, to become tangled up in all of the technology and looking at speeds and feeds and all of the very granular things that you can get out of monitoring software. But that is a bottom-up approach, and I don't think it's the right approach. I mean, the approach needs to be top-down. It needs to be about understanding what positive business outcome are you trying to achieve here. We are a business that does X, and in order to do that, we need to support the business. And how do we support the business? We provide the technology platform. We provide the applications and the compute resources and everything. What positive business outcome? What is the positive business outcome? How does all that contribute to the business? That helps the IT team to get aligned with the business. And then to get a little more granular than that, what we think you need are some shared, very well understood key performance indicators between IT and the business so that the business knows that you're delivering the services they expect. Going to the business and saying, our CPU utilization is 85.2% is a little too granular. The business isn't going to understand that.
It also means nothing.
Exactly.
And yay?
going to the business and saying we are up 90% of the time, 99% of the time, or we are doing these things that support the business. That is the real approach to a mature observability strategy and program.
Right.
We also have a way to break that down into 3 words. So for almost every project you take on in terms of observability, the 3 words or 3 stages that you must achieve is the ability to communicate before you remediate, before you innovate. And so Alec was touching on the fact that, I got good RAM, I got good disk space, and all the good telemetry is looking great, but how's the customer feeling, and can I communicate the current state of my platform in terms of the way the customer perceives it and the way it's impacting the business? And then once I can communicate that to non-IT folks and stakeholders in the chain of command, then I can more effectively remediate. Once I can communicate and remediate, then I can go and change things in production more frequently because I can both communicate and remediate when things break.
I think that's we often talk about the communicate, remediate, innovate internally. We do that when we talk with customers, also do that when I'm speaking sometimes with engineers at New Relic, and definitely when I'm working with field consultants. I think for people that are out there, just about everybody has something. They have some open source, they have some workarounds, or they have some very well-established tools in the performance market. But I think going back to what Alec was saying about business goals, so most organizations, whether you're for-profit, whether you're not-for-profit, whether you're government, usually there's those high-level goals that the company is trying to achieve. Sometimes it can be difficult for the average person to map that back to what they're doing. I'd say that sometimes when I have that challenge, I usually think, what happens if I took it away? Or what happens if it was all bad? And then if you think, because it might be like our goal is to, let's say I work in retail and I'm working in IT for retail. My goal is to get this many new customers into this fashion line. And then how you tie it back to technology, it can feel a bit challenging. But then sometimes it can help people to visualize, well, what happens if the online experience is terrible? And then what's the impact of that? And then you kind of begin to understand where you fit in the picture. So when you're thinking about investing in tools or investing just in observability as a practice, it helps to understand where you fit into the bigger picture. Or if you're working for a very, very large organization, maybe where you fit into your department. Then again, by the same exercise, think about what happens when things are bad. Then you kind of know what's supposed to happen when things are good. And then once you've established that, then as you go shopping for your tools or shopping for your process, then it's what Andrew said, thinking about that: communicate, remediate, innovate.
Right. And I also think that it's really easy for those of us who've been working in IT for a while to get into an IT centric frame of mind. Like you were talking about what's good, what's bad. Well, as a sysadmin, I know what's good and what's bad for my systems, independent of anything else the business is doing. I know what my systems need to do. And therefore, my primary effort in monitoring is, back to Alec's point, to make sure my CPU is good. Except that CPU has little to no bearing, not necessarily, on the customer experience, on the end user experience, on the business experience. And so to get out of that mindset and to say, no, my system CPU doesn't matter except as it relates to the business goals. And the next natural question is, well, how am I supposed to know what the business is doing? I'm just a sysadmin. I just sling Linux all day. And there's the problem, right? Like, if you don't know what the business is actually trying to achieve, you're doing IT for IT's sake. And I think that the maturity... Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry. Without perspective, without communication, it's super easy to lose perspective. And that's why we talk about communicate, which leads to the ability to more efficiently remediate, fix what's broken. And then that gives you the time to innovate and do the really cool stuff.
Right.
For example, on communication, you would be surprised how many times we'll be with customers and we'll say, well, what capabilities is your service supporting? Right. And we get the, how many heads do you have? And it comes down to, well, do you support login? Do you support search, browse, inventory, add to cart? Which ones are you doing? Well, we support 200 services. Well, what capabilities are those services running? And that's the first step to communicate, because the business doesn't speak services. The business doesn't speak databases. The business speaks, how's my login doing? How's my inventory check? How's my checkout? How about transaction to make my money, revenue, right? And so there's a long, I wouldn't say long, but a good effort in the beginning with the customer to begin to translate their IT into those capabilities of the product. And we're going through this ourselves, right? We just started working on capability verticals and horizontals.
Yeah, it's and communicate, the facet of communicate I think IT folks need to remember is that allow the business to communicate with you. Listen to what the business is telling you. Don't just keep on telling them, this is our CPU, this is our RAM, this is our uptime, this is our whatever. But you have to listen and say, is any of that relevant? And yeah, the business is never going to speak tech. It's as effective as standing on a street corner in Paris and screaming in English. You will get violently ignored. You have to recognize that in tech, you need to learn to speak the business language, not the other way around, and be able to communicate what you're able to do in that way, and then find out what problems they need fixed. I love this conversation. I love it. But a few of you have said something over and over, which is, as you build it, as you whatever. But a lot of IT folks who have the best of intentions and want to create a more mature monitoring and observability environment find themselves in environments where the tools have already been selected, and they can't rip and replace. Are we saying that it's too late for them? That, unless they're prepared to go through a process of tearing it all down and rebuilding it piece by piece, that, what we're talking about is not relevant? Is there something they can take away from this?
Yes. It's not,
Good to know.
I wish I could say, no, you have to rip and replace and go to 100% New Relic. Our salespeople would love that, but that's not practical.
My kid's orthodontist would be appreciative of it. Yeah, all of that.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But no, it's not too late. What we talk about here is obviously optimized for the New Relic platform, because that's where we've spent a lot of time creating this material. But you should be able to do this with any other tool out there that has decent functionality. And if it becomes problematic to do it, then you may be able to adapt what we're doing even further, or that may be a signal that what you've got is not effective for your business, and you may want to look at making a change.
Yeah, if you need to haul 4x8 sheets of lumber and you can't fit it into the back of your hatchback Hyundai, that's not because the lumber's bad. It's because perhaps you're choosing the wrong vehicle. And again, not a statement of rip and replace. I have gotten 4x8 sheets of plywood into the back of a hatchback Hyundai. Like, it can be done. But if your tool isn't doing it, then it's a toaster. Like, just make sure it can make the kind of toast you want. Absolutely. Kim, I think I cut you off.
No, I hadn't said anything yet. I just saying that I agree. I like the toaster analogy. That's kind of funny. If you can, how much, if you were trying to improve your culinary skills, how far could you get with a toaster? You could probably do a few things, right? And then it gets to a point where you need to move off of the toaster and do something else. So if your technology, your observability stack is an equivalent to a toaster, there are still improvements that you can do. And then sometimes even just working with what you have, you learn through it. And when it comes to the time to get a new tool or to try something different, what you've done with your toaster may have taught you with what you need to get for the future.
Or what you're missing, to fill,
Yeah.
you can work more faster to fill in the gaps. Absolutely. Okay, so now that we've talked about what, mature observability looks like and possibly how to get there regardless of the tools, let's come back to the New Relic angle. Like, what is it that we're bringing to the table to make things easier, to make things, to illuminate the path a little bit more? What do we have on the table here?
So and by we, I mean, this was all started by Andrew a few years ago, and then he found others like myself and Kim who rapidly became disciples of this philosophy. We created...
Well, let's be clear. You two now specialize in areas that I know very little about.
We do, but you invented the framework, and
Thank you.
And we created the observability maturity architecture framework, which is there to identify, it's there to be very prescriptive. It identifies positive business outcomes. It identifies the key performance indicators which drive the behaviors to get you to those positive business outcomes. Because if you set the right goals, then you're going to influence the behavior of the organization. And so you've got the New Relic technology platform. You've got the OMA processes that we define, and they're in several different areas. And then our customers bring the people process technology, and that gets you on the road to achieving the goals. And again, these are not hand-wavy goals. These are not, well, what do you want to do, and what KPIs do you want? This is a package of very specific information and very specific steps and repeating quality improvement processes to help you get there.
What we discovered early on is there are 4 primary reasons customers need an observability platform, and we call those 4 reasons value drivers. And for example, customer experience is usually what customers say in the beginning. I need to improve my customer experience. My customers are complaining. We often come around and say, well, do you mean your performance or your availability? Are things slow and broken? Or is it, do you need to improve your bottom of the funnel conversion rates? And the second one is usually, well, no, we have brokenness, right? We've got performance. Oh, okay. So then you're really in the cornerstone of the framework, which is uptime, performance, and reliability. We know that means you have these business goals. I won't get into the details now, but you have these business goals that your leadership is looking to achieve. And you have these operational goals that you need to achieve in order to influence the business objectives. And then you have these metrics, these KPIs that you need to measure and improve. And here's how to do that.
Very cool. I like it. Okay, so at this point, I think we're at a position where I want to see some stuff. Like, is there it's a neat theory. It's a good framework, but is there a thing I can look at and say, look, there's maturity?
There's a lot. So
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, go.
So one of my favorite use cases is alert quality management, which is part of the uptime, performance, and reliability value driver. So uptime, performance, and reliability brings you the alert quality management use case, the service level management use case, and then a reliability engineering diagnostics. Alert quality management, AQM, is really easy to get started with, and it brings value very quickly, because what it's about is reducing the volume and increasing the relevance of your alerts. And who doesn't perceive that they're being spammed out by 1,000 alerts a second, and they would like to have fewer alerts, and they would like for those alerts to be more meaningful. So
Yes.
And beyond that, AQM is really easy to implement, so our customers can get into it very quickly and easily. So let me show you what I've got here. So the alert quality management, really at a high level, again, it's about reducing volume and increasing engagement. Do we have fewer alerts? And are our alert responders actually looking at the alerts that are coming out? So this is an example dashboard. Sorry, this is a dashboard that's pulling information from a demo environment in New Relic. The underlying data is there automatically from the platform, and so all you need to do is drop the dashboard in. But here, I can look at my most important key performance indicators right across the top. Let's look at alert volume. In the last 7-day week, have had about 2,200 incidents. Well, that's a lot. And in the last week, I've accumulated 302,000 incident minutes. What that means is we start a clock every time an incident opens. We stop the clock when the incident closes. How many minutes? So if I have 2 incidents for 5 minutes each over the same 5-minute period, that's 10 minutes. That's 10 incident minutes.
Now let me interrupt you
is,
there, Alec, because at this point, a lot of people will say, is this normal? Like, is this a usual case? And the answer is yes. In fact, you wouldn't believe how many customers have more than this when they first start. So this is not an unusual case.
Well, and I also want to underscore that with all things monitoring, when a thing happens, when an incident, when a notable event occurs, you can't just start responding to it and saying, well, maybe 3,000 users on the system isn't a spike. Maybe it's normal for Thursday because that's when all your sales go online. Or maybe it's month-end closing, or maybe it's whatever. You can't know whether it's normal or not until you have the data. And Alec, what you're saying is that we've got we already have the data to show you that this is within the bell curve, or this is not within the bell curve, or whatever. Whether you like it, whether you like 2.2 thousand incidents and 302,000 incident minutes is a different story. You may feel a particular way about it, but now you've got the data to show you what's happening and what has been happening. Sorry, I didn't mean to stomp on you. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Exactly. With the data, you can begin to have important discussions with your team, with the incident responders. So 302,000 minutes, which everybody knows there's about 10,000 minutes in a week. And so this is what this is telling us is you've got many incidents open 24/7. What's our time to close? About 307 minutes. And then this is an outlier, but in this particular account, about 75% of the incidents are open for less than 5 minutes. That's just extra noise and light. Any incident that's open for 5 or fewer minutes is one that nobody is getting the chance to even put down their coffee, let alone actually do meaningful work to figure out why it's there. The key, though, is you take this information and you can start with these 6 key performance indicators, and then you can drill down into the information about your individual alert policies and alert conditions, and you can start to have conversations around this. And what we do with alert quality management is we guide our customers through the first few conversations, but in a lot of cases, they don't need much guidance. I've been in a ton of calls where you talk to them for 5 minutes. You talk about these 6 KPIs. You point at the first policy in the list, the policy with the highest volume of alerts or the most minutes. And all of a sudden, 2 people on the call who work for the customer begin to talk to each other. And they have a real open and honest conversation, quite possibly for the first time in years. And they say, wow, I didn't know that. Or, gee, we need to get these people from this other department on the line because they're the ones who know why this is out here. And this is ridiculous. And no wonder we had that outage last week or whatever. And those, again, communicate, remediate, innovate. We've just opened up a brand new line of communication. And we've got people talking and looking and understanding. And that's really what this is about.
Contact your sales associate for New Relic IT therapy today.
Not quite. But what I can say is, and I'll switch gears for a second. If you are using New Relic, this dashboard is available to you right now. You can go into Add Data, which is the quick starts, and you can go to Alert Quality, if I can spell, and there's the dashboard. Hit the button. It drops into your account immediately. And again, the data that drives this dashboard is being collected by the platform. And so you don't have to drop this dashboard in and then wait a couple of weeks for the data to accumulate. You can drop this dashboard in, and the information you're going to see is going to be relevant, and it's going to go back weeks, if not months. And that's going to be very valuable to you.
And that's one of the really cool parts about New Relic as a platform, and I recognize that I sound really salesy here, but there's you don't have to now go buy the bolt-on module or get the whatever, there is exactly one SKU, New Relic, and so when you get the platform, you get everything in the platform, whether you need it today or not. It's there, and to your point, the data's already being collected, so here we go, you've got it.
Do you think it'd be helpful if I step...
We see with a lot of customers, once they've dropped this in, kind of what Alec's been saying is that a lot of times to see like 50% or better improvement is often not a lot of effort. I think it's about giving them that communicate, that view that they have. And it's usually not a lot of work to tune this up. Now, to keep it from happening again, you kind of have to have an ongoing process in place. But it has a tremendous benefit to not only to customers, our customers, but also to employees of our customers. So if you're able to tune your alerts, then you're able to make them actionable. If you're able to make them actionable, it means that you can address outages, things not being available, errors happening, etc. You can address them much faster for your users. In addition to that, sometimes when we're talking to customers that still have a NOC, that still have very much an operations sort of structure, we're talking to ops people who feel a bit powerless to control the amount of alerts, the alert noise, and in a sense have control over what they spend their time on. By giving the visibility to the developers, the different teams that create the alerts, they reduce their noise in their own work, and then that empowers them to work on other things. In addition to that, also to get the credit for having an improved level of service for their customers. So not only is it beneficial for improving customer experience, but it's also hugely beneficial for improving the employee experience.
Yeah, one of the conversations I have at conferences a lot, someone will come up to the booth or come find me and they're like, yeah, but alerts suck. And I'm like, no, alerts don't suck. Your alerts suck. And, part of it is because of this noise. And what would happen how would your world change if you knew for certainty that every time you got an alert, it was immediate, it was urgent, and it required your attention right now to go fix. You knew every alert, and you only got alerts when that was happening. And I have seen organizations where they went from 80 alerts in a given, a week or a day to 8. And the the twofold benefit was, first of all, the alerts stopped being noise. They stopped ignoring the alerts. They stopped letting things drop because out of 80, 8 were real. So, they just dropped the other 72. They ended up dropping all 80 and waiting for something to just light on fire. So then they would, instead, every time an alert came in, they were on it immediately, even before the 5-minute put down my cup of coffee. As soon as the pager or the email or whatever went off, they were on it because they knew how urgent it was. And the overall service and the overall effectiveness increased because of it. So yeah, it's enormously transformative. Yeah.
And that ties back to communication, because once you're doing this, this is then something that the business would understand. And this is something that then should be communicated widely. Hey, we did this analysis process and we've now dropped the volume of incidents by 20, 30%. And again, 20 or 30% is not an unrealistic number. We've dropped the volume of incidents. We've dropped the number of incident minutes. We've increased engagement. So an incident is now being looked at within 5 minutes. Our average incident is open for less than an hour. Things along those lines. You communicate that to the business. It's something that they will intuitively understand. Right. It's something that they will appreciate, and it has a real business impact. And that gets you out of the realm of being IT cost center, those techie people, they don't understand what we're doing, the Department of No, and all the rest of that stuff, and gets you into a more collaborative atmosphere where when they come, where the business will come to you and say, hey, we're thinking about this initiative. What is it going to take to make it happen? As opposed to, oh, this initiative starts Tuesday. Of course you'll be ready.
Yeah, it also creates a different profile for the team involved too, right? It demonstrates a level of excellence too. So in addition to not only giving the business the results, who doesn't want an opportunity to be badass, right? You can be badass with this.
Now, for us, Leon, you mentioned earlier, what do we do with customers that have another platform? I've had multiple customers that said, oh, no, we use another platform for alerting, and some alerts come out of New Relic. I said, well, let's take a look at what's coming out of New Relic. And they see this data and they get shocked. Like, this is coming out of New Relic, and that's just part of our alerting system. And then when you bring that to their leadership with their support, of course, the first thing you hear is, my gosh, why don't I put all this into New Relic? So that has happened multiple times with me.
Right. Again, not trying to be super salesy or markety or any of that stuff, but best tool for the job is best tool for the job. If the framework works for you, the people who are watching this video, if the framework and the concept works for you and the tools don't have to change, fantastic. If you find that they're falling short or whatever, there's another tool option that's available to you. And again, in tech, we use the tool that works and we switch when we need to switch. We do not get emotionally attached. There are very few religious wars besides the whole, like VI versus Emacs and tabs versus spaces and how to correctly pronounce GIF. Besides those things, tools are tools. So, there's this other option that is available 100%.
So first of all, you meant GIF, because everybody knows that it's pronounced choosy mothers choose. And second of all, you're exactly right. But I think the key takeaway here is, even if you are routing your alerts to something else, ServiceNow, for example, there is still room to use this analysis technique either in New Relic or overall in your organization across all your incidents in order to achieve the positive business outcome, more engagement, lower volume.
Very cool.
And this has proven to be our best introductory to observability maturity. Thanks to Alec's work last year, he got it down to a couple of clicks. He converted it to the data that was already in the system. So kudos there, because now customers can see value almost instantly, and we have seen that this is the most popular introductory to what we can do for our customers.
And also too, thanks to product engineering who captured this data automatically, right? So that didn't always happen.
I forgot all about that
years that I've been here. Right. And then as long as I'm going to throw out to product engineering, I'll also throw out to newrelic.io for making it possible to create a quick start where somebody can just go
Right.
to it, click on it, and then it downloads into your account like magic.
Right. Yeah.
And
This
then
stuff did not happen. Did not happen magically. Elves were not, working while we slept, or they were. They were just engineering elves to do that.
Yeah.
Alec, sorry, I didn't mean to.
But the nice part about it is, once you get into alert quality management, there's a path forward even from there. So you can do alert quality management. You can show the initial value. You can free up some time. You could show the business what you're doing, and then there are some following steps. And then there's the other three OMA value drivers that you can look at, or there's the next logical use case within uptime, performance, and reliability, service level management, which is about more carefully measuring and having a better understanding of the business impact of your services, and particularly of service outages. Service level management is a deeper discipline. It's probably a topic for another one of these.
Yes.
But it is the next step, and that works to help everybody it further enhances communication. It works so that everybody really understands what's the impact when that thing over there goes down or fails to work properly, and gives you even more value, makes things even better.
Very cool. And yeah, we're going to have more of these conversations, both on this area and also on the other areas of OMA coming up, because this is just a very rich source of both, I think, again, IT and IT practitioner maturity, independent of what New Relic is doing. I think as monitoring engineers, yes, that's a job. As monitoring observability specialists, I think that understanding what good looks like, what mature looks like, is important to all of our careers. But on top of it, talking about how specific tools, in this case New Relic, enable that is deeply useful and important. All right, so I wanna move us on to what I've affectionately started calling the lightning round, where we get to talk about any final thoughts. It does not need to be a CTA. Please go buy this now. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever thoughts you have. I have three. First of all, Kim and Andrew, it was wonderful having you on the show. Alec, I'm sorry you will never be invited back because you can't pronounce GIF correctly, but it's okay. It's all right. We're still friends. Another final thought is, again, alerts do not suck. Your alerts might suck, and there is a way to make them suck less, and that's what we've been talking about today and we'll continue to talk about. And finally, I think as folks working in IT in general, we do not do IT for the sake of IT. We work in technology to enable a business, and it's incumbent on you, the IT practitioner, to learn the language of business and to learn the specifics of your business, because that's the only way they're going to understand what you bring to the table. And to Kim's point, how awesome you really are is if you learn to communicate it in their language. So those are my final thoughts. Alec, I guess I'll have to let you have some final thoughts here too. So what are you thinking?
I said it already. Once you've started down the path of AQM, once you've got it implemented and you've seen what it does, there's a ton of other OMA value drivers, service level management in particular, that you can choose from that'll really help you out.
Very cool. Kim?
Just a shout out for the customer experience focused people listening to this or watching this video. If you're not using alerts, and if you're using New Relic and you're not using alerts in New Relic, you should be totally. I think a lot of times when I talk with customer experience teams, they're not realize, especially for web, they're not necessarily aware that you can alert on those core web vitals, those JavaScript errors, and also too the performance of the calls to the back end, those other teams that you rely on. So alerts are for you, and then if alerts are for you, so is alert quality management. Dig in.
Nice. Andrew, bring us home.
Communicate before you remediate. When I work with practitioners, and I work with them a lot, it's one of my primary functions. They often conflate the two. So when we're talking about what does the performance mean to the business and the customer, they rebut with, well, how do I know it's not the database? And that's a remediate function. First, let's figure out what the system looks like to the business and to the customer. Then we'll worry about how to fix it when we see a problem.
Very nice. All right. Well, I want to thank all three of you. Joking aside, I want to thank all three of you for carving out some time in your very busy days to talk about this, and I can't wait to have you back. I also want to thank everyone watching. There is an overwhelming amount of video content to binge on these days, and we want to thank you for spending some of your precious binge time with us today. If you've enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe so that you can get notifications when new episodes drop. For New Relic Changelog, I'm Leon Adato. And we're out.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! This was
Yay.
really